The North Sea wind screamed against the rusted aerials of Station K-47, a lonely OSS listening post perched on the Scottish cliffs. Rain lashed sideways, blurring the gray horizon into a sheet of endless mist. Inside the hut, only one lamp burned, and under it sat Sergeant Thomas Hale, headphones on, fingers drumming against a half-empty mug of coffee gone cold hours ago. He had been posted here for 3 months, scanning German frequencies for chatter, codes, or anything useful. Mostly he found silence. Static. The same endless hiss that seemed to mock him. But that night, something strange slipped through the static. A voice, faint, mechanical, and wrong. It wasn't ordinary German radio traffic. It sounded distant, distorted, as if echoing from deep underground or far above the clouds. He turned the dial slowly. In Mundgak tone. Then a burst of screeching tone. Then silence again. Hale frowned. Piemont. The name clicked somewhere in his memory. A secret site, whispered about in reports, tied to rockets and impossible weapons. He scribbled notes, heart thudding, adjusting the gain. But when he replayed the tape, the voice was gone. Only static. He called the night supervisor. Sir, I caught a signal. Coordinates near Piemont. Something about an alert. The man yawned. Probably atmospheric bounce. Hale, go get some sleep. But Hale couldn't. Long after the storm died, he sat there, headphones pressed tight, whispering to himself. It wasn't a bounce. It was a warning. 3 nights later, the signal came again. This time softer, more deliberate, as if it knew he was listening. Hale had been dozing at the console. His cigarette burned down to the filter when the headphones filled with a thin pulse of sound. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, tap. Morse. But not quite. The rhythm was uneven, almost human. He leaned forward, his breath fogging the cold air. The voice returned, wavering between static bursts. Project. Sturmlicht. Test. Null Funf. Then a long shriek, like metal tearing apart. Hale ripped off the headphones, the noise drilling straight through his skull. When he put them back on, silence. He checked the recording spool. Nothing. As if the machine itself had refused to remember. At dawn, he brought his logbook to Captain Wexler, a bulky man who smelled of pipe smoke and disinterest. You're hearing phantom signals again? Wexler sighed. You've been isolated too long. The North Sea does things to a man's head. Sir, I swear it's real. The voice mentioned a project, Sturmlicht, maybe connected to Piemont. Wexler looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, You're a good operator, Hale. Don't throw your sanity away chasing ghosts. But that evening, as the fog rolled in from the sea, Hale returned to the radio shack. He tuned into 9.273 megahertz, and there it was again, faint but unmistakable, a woman's voice, speaking perfect German, whispering, They are coming. His heart pounded. This was no illusion. The ghost signal was back. The next morning, Hale couldn't shake the echo of that voice. They are coming. It followed him through every movement. The scrape of his razor, the hiss of the kettle, the hollow clink of his spoon in the tin cup. When he stepped outside, the world felt different, colder, sharper, as though the cliffs themselves were listening too. He returned to the transmitter at noon, ignoring the looks from the other operators. The sea wind whistled through the cracks in the hut. He adjusted the dial, watching the needle quiver between frequencies. Static. Then, a soft hum. A pattern. Someone was broadcasting in intervals of exactly 21 seconds. He started transcribing. 21 seconds on. 9 seconds off. Every pause, a breath. Every tone, a message. He decoded a few fragments. Phase Vi, target London, countdown. His stomach dropped. It wasn't just testing anymore. They were preparing to launch. Hale rushed the notes to Wexler again, but the captain barely glanced at them. You think the Germans would announce a rocket strike over an open frequency? You've lost perspective, Hale. It's not open. It's buried in atmospheric reflection, coded through harmonics. Enough. Wexler's voice hardened. You're done for the day. That night, Hale locked himself inside the shack, pulling the blackout curtains tight. He tuned in once more and froze. Over the hum came something new, a faint, rhythmic thud like distant artillery. Then the woman's voice again, whispering in English this time. You must listen before they find you. His pulse quickened. Whoever she was, she knew he was listening. For the next 2 nights, Hale barely slept. Every hour he returned to the receiver, waiting for her. The signal came irregularly, sometimes at midnight, sometimes near dawn, a flicker in the static that seemed to breathe. Each time, the same soft female voice, breaking through interference. Listen, before they find you. Then silence again, like the air itself holding its breath. He began to recognize details, the slight tremor in her vowels, the clipped accent of northern Germany. He recorded everything, filling pages of his notebook with transcribed fragments. Project Sturmlicht operational. Test successful. Piemont compromised. It sounded like a confession, or a warning. When he played the recordings back for Wexler, there was nothing but static. No voice, no rhythm, just the endless hiss of the North Sea. Wexler slammed his pipe on the desk. This ends now, Sergeant. You're suspended from night duty. Go outside. Breathe some air before I report you unfit for service. But Hale didn't stop. That evening, as the storm clouds rolled over the cliffs, he took a field receiver and hiked toward the edge of the sea. The wind was wild, screaming across the rocks. He tuned the dial, and there she was, clearer than ever. Thomas, she said. He froze. She knew his name. Static swallowed the rest of her words. Then a sudden burst of sound, the unmistakable roar of an engine, distant but powerful, echoing across the frequency. He stared into the mist. Somewhere out there, something enormous had awakened. The roar lingered in the headphones like a phantom heartbeat. Hale adjusted the gain, chasing the sound as it faded, rose again, then sank into the static. It was mechanical, thunderous, not aircraft, not ships. Something deeper, like metal grinding under immense pressure. He scribbled the timestamp in his logbook. 0104 hours. Direction, northeast, over the North Sea. Duration, 42 seconds. Then he froze. The numbers on his receiver's dial were shifting by themselves, flickering between frequencies as if guided by invisible hands. Hail to base, he whispered into the transmitter, but all he heard back was distortion, a looping echo of his own voice, warped and hollow. You must listen before they find you. Panic rippled through him. He tore off the headset, glancing toward the cliffs. The sea was pitch black, yet the air pulsed faintly, like lightning hidden behind clouds. Moments later, Wexler stormed in, rain dripping from his greatcoat. What the hell are you doing out here? There's something under the sea, Hale blurted. Engines. Testing. Maybe a launch platform. Wexler's face twisted with anger. You're talking nonsense. I'll have you reassigned to London for psychiatric review. But Hale barely heard him, because through the open door, he caught it again. That same low tremor, rolling through the ground, steady and deliberate. He turned toward the horizon, heart hammering. Somewhere beneath the waves, the Third Reich was building something colossal, and it had just come online. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the cliffs washed clean and silver with mist. Hale hadn't slept. His eyes burned, his thoughts spun in a feverish loop. The engine, the signal, the woman. He felt the weight of something vast pressing in from the horizon. When he finally returned to the main hut, an official envelope waited on the desk. The OSS seal glared up at him like a warning. Sergeant Thomas Hale, the note read, You are hereby relieved of active monitoring duty pending evaluation. You are to remain on site, refrain from equipment use, and await further orders. He read it 3 times before laughter escaped him. Short, hollow, unbelieving. Stand down. Now, when something was out there, humming beneath the sea like the beating heart of a mechanical beast. That afternoon, he slipped back into the radio room. Wexler was gone, off filing reports at Inverness. Hale locked the door and powered up the receiver. The dials glowed faintly green in the dimness. He tuned to the familiar frequency, 9.273 megahertz. At first, nothing. Then a slow rising hum. Then her voice. Thomas. They silenced the others. I don't have long. Who are you? He whispered. I was Project Sturmlicht. I helped build it. It wasn't meant for war, but they changed it. Her breath crackled in the static, urgent and fragile. They'll test it again soon. When you hear the signal, the 3 tones, run. Leave the station. Run from what? The sky, she said. They're teaching it to burn the sky. The receiver screamed suddenly, meters slamming red, power surging through the cables. Sparks flew. Hale ripped the plug from the wall, the sound cutting off in a burst of ozone. The lamp flickered, then died. In the silence that followed, The sea seemed to whisper through the walls, 3 tones, faint and distant, calling from somewhere deep beyond the fog. By dawn, the station felt haunted. The air smelled of burnt wiring and salt. The shadows seemed to move when Hale wasn't looking. He had sealed the receiver back inside its metal casing, but the sound, that deep, rhythmic hum, pulsed faintly through the walls like a heartbeat. He brewed black coffee and stared at the cliffs. The North Sea stretched out like iron, dull and endless. Nothing moved except the gulls and the ghostly mist curling around the aerial towers. Wexler's jeep appeared hours later, tires crunching over gravel. The captain stormed in, jaw tight. "Are you out of your mind?" Wexler barked. "You overloaded a government transmitter." "I didn't. The power surged on its own." "Enough." Wexler slapped a telegram onto the desk. "London's ordering a full shutdown. All coastal monitoring stations are standby. No transmissions, no intercepts. You're to wait for retrieval." Hale skimmed the message. The order was dated 2 days earlier. His stomach tightened. This came before the surge. Yes. What? Because they knew something was coming. Something big. Wexler sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're obsessed with ghosts, Hale. There is no project, no mystery woman, no cursed frequency. Go outside. Breathe before I have you escorted off these cliffs." But when Wexler left, Hale noticed the lamp flicker again. Once, twice, 3 times, perfectly timed. Then, faintly, the receiver, still unplugged, began to whisper. "Test, aborted, stormlight contained." Hale's blood ran cold. The test had been called off. But why, and by whom, if the project wasn't real? Outside, thunder rolled far out over the North Sea, low and deliberate, like the sky remembering what it had almost unleashed. The next morning brought visitors, men in dark overcoats, polished boots, and silence heavy enough to bend the air. A black Humber staff car climbed the cliff road, its tires spraying gravel. Hale watched from the station window as 2 men stepped out, followed by a third carrying a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. None of them smiled. Wexler met them outside, his voice sharp and nervous. The wind carried fragments of their conversation. Containment, psychological evaluation, unauthorized transmissions. Hale's stomach twisted. Then one of the men, a narrow-faced officer with gray eyes and a clipped accent, looked directly toward the window. Hale felt, absurdly, as if the man could see through the glass, straight into his thoughts. Minutes later, the officer entered the hut. "Sergeant Hale," he said, his tone perfectly calm. "I'm Major Cartwright, London Command. I understand you've been intercepting unusual traffic." "Yes, sir," Hale said carefully. "Voices, engines, secret projects?" "Yes, sir." Cartwright smiled faintly, as if humoring a child. "And these transmissions, do they occur when anyone else is present?" "No, sir." The major exchanged a look with his men. "I see. You'll accompany us to Inverness for debriefing. Consider this a temporary reassignment." As they turned to leave, Hale's receiver, still unplugged, crackled to life again. The woman's voice cut through the silence. "Thomas, they're not from London. Don't go with them." Cartwright froze. What was that? Hale swallowed hard. "Interference, sir." But he knew the truth. The woman was warning him again, and this time, it wasn't static paranoia. Someone really was coming for him. The moment Cartwright stepped outside, Hale's pulse began to race. Every instinct screamed at him to run. The woman's warning echoed in his skull. "They're not from London." The phrase kept looping, louder with each breath. He looked around the hut, the receiver still faintly glowing despite being unplugged, his notebook open with scrawled notes about Project Sturmlicht, the frequency logs, the strange 3-tone pattern. If they took him, those pages would vanish into some locked drawer forever. He stuffed the notebook under his coat, slipped out the back door, and moved fast along the ridge path. The cliffs were slick from morning fog, the sea below growling against the rocks. Behind him, he heard voices, Cartwright shouting orders, boots crunching over gravel. He ran. The wind whipped at his coat, tearing pages from his pocket, scattering them like white birds into the void. Ahead, the faint outline of an old watchtower loomed through the mist, abandoned since the Great War, little more than crumbling stone and rusted ladders. He ducked inside just as the staff car's headlights cut through the fog above. He crouched low, chest heaving, listening. The men fanned out across the cliffs, calling his name in calm, deliberate tones. Then he heard a new sound, tap, 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 a pattern echoing through his field receiver. Morse, but wrong again. He raised the receiver to his ear. Thomas, the woman's voice whispered. If you want the truth, go to grid 679. There's a relay tower. They're using it to mask the tests. How do I find you? He hissed. You already have, she said, and the signal went dead. Outside, the fog lit up with the beam of a flashlight. Hale, stop right there. Cartwright's voice thundered. Hale bolted from the tower and vanished into the storm. Rain slashed sideways as Hale climbed the ridge, his boots sinking into mud, lungs burning from the cold air. The world was nothing but darkness, fog, and the pulse of distant thunder. He followed the faint glow of his pocket compass, trusting the woman's directions, grid 679, the relay tower. He moved inland, through knee-high grass and half-buried fencing left from the old coastal defenses. The mist thickened until even the moon disappeared. Then, just as he began to doubt the voice, a shape materialized through the fog, a skeletal metal structure rising from the moor, its antenna still faintly humming. It wasn't on any OSS map. At the base of the tower, a small shack leaned against the concrete foundation. Hale slipped inside. Dust, cold air, and the faint ticking of an unpowered transmitter greeted him. He brushed frost from the control panel and froze. The frequency dial was locked on 9.273 megahertz. He turned a knob. The static deepened, then split open like tearing cloth. Thomas, came the voice, clearer now, desperate. You found it. Good. They're using the tower to rebound Pinemun's tests over the North Sea, to make them invisible. Who are you? He demanded. What is Sturmlicht? She hesitated. It means stormlight, a weapon meant to bring daylight where there is none, but it burns everything. Suddenly, the tower above him vibrated, a deep metallic hum rolling through the ground. A red indicator on the control panel blinked to life. Test sequence, the voice whispered. They're starting another one. Outside, lightning flashed, but it wasn't from the sky. It came up from the horizon, a vertical beam of white fire stabbing into the clouds. The air sizzled with ozone, and the earth trembled beneath his feet. Hale stumbled back, watching the heavens ignite. The light tore through the clouds like a blade, blinding white and impossibly silent. For an instant, the entire moor was illuminated. The tower, the cliffs, the sea beyond, everything frozen in stark brilliance. Then the sound arrived, a rolling thunder that cracked the sky apart. Hale fell to his knees, hands clamped over his ears, the roar vibrating through his bones. When the flash finally faded, the world went dark again, too dark. The air reeked of ozone, and his skin prickled as if charged with static. The tower above him was glowing faintly red, its steel girders humming with leftover energy. The equipment inside the shack had come alive on its own, dials spinning, needles twitching, a faint three-tone sequence repeating over and over. Beep, beep, beep. He recognized it instantly, the signal she'd warned him about. Thomas, the voice gasped through the static. It's not a weapon anymore. They've turned it into something else, something alive. What do you mean, alive? But the voice broke apart, a shriek of interference, then silence. Outside, the ground began to tremble again. A column of black smoke rose from somewhere far across the sea, a thin, unnatural spiral stretching upward. Hale fumbled with his binoculars. Through the mist, he caught glimpses of movement in the clouds, metallic shapes descending like dark birds. He stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a cable. His mind raced. If the Nazis had truly built something that could harness lightning itself, a weapon to ignite the sky, then Britain's radar network, London, every city under the clouds was in danger. He had to warn someone, anyone. But first, he had to survive the men hunting him, and the storm now hunting everyone. The storm rolled inland like a living thing, thunder crawling along the earth instead of above it. Hale staggered through the moor, soaked to the bone, clutching his field receiver. Behind him, the tower pulsed in time with the lightning, each flash outlining its metal frame in ghostly fire. He heard engines, vehicles approaching fast. Headlights cut through the fog, sweeping the field in erratic arcs. Voices shouted in clipped German. Not Cartwright's men, these were different. The accents were too harsh, the words too clean. He dropped flat into the wet grass. Through the mist, he saw 3 trucks painted in dark camouflage, the kind used by Luftwaffe ground units. Soldiers in black coats fanned out, carrying rifles and strange metal cases marked with the eagle insignia. His pulse hammered. What were German troops doing this deep in Scotland? Then it hit him. They weren't invading. They were retrieving something. The tower. A nearby soldier shouted, "Schnell! Signal Sichern! Der Engländer darf nichts senden." Quickly, secure the signal. The Englishman must not transmit. Hale crawled toward a ridge, gripping the receiver to his chest. Static hissed in his ear, then her voice again, calm amid the chaos. "Thomas," they followed the beam. "They're here to erase the evidence. You must destroy the relay." "How?" "Overload it. Force it to burn itself out. You have 5 minutes before they find you." Lightning split the sky, revealing a squad advancing toward the shack. Hale took a deep breath, then broke cover, sprinting downhill. Bullets ripped the air behind him. He dove through the doorway, slammed the control levers forward, and twisted every frequency dial into red. The tower screamed, a deep, metallic howl that rose higher and higher until it shattered the air. Then came the explosion. The blast tore the world apart. Hale was thrown backward, slammed against the rocky ground, ears ringing, vision washed white. The tower had erupted into a column of molten light. Not flame, not lightning, but something between the two. Every surface glowed like glass under a furnace. The German trucks were hurled into the air, twisting, shattering, and vanishing into the mist. Then came silence, an unnatural, heavy quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The rain stopped mid-fall, frozen droplets hanging in the air. Hale blinked, disoriented, realizing that the blast's light was still burning without sound or heat. The tower's frame hovered above the ground, vibrating, flickering between visibility and absence. From the glowing center, a voice emerged. Not through the receiver, through the air itself. "Thomas," it was her. Louder now, almost human. "You've broken the seal. But the storm is awake. You must finish what I couldn't." He stared, shielding his eyes. "Who are you?" "I was Dr. Elfriede Morgenstern. I designed Sturmlicht to harvest atmospheric energy, a weapon to end war by ending power. But they twisted it, made it hunger. Hunger. For life," she said simply. "Every test feeds it. Every signal makes it stronger." The light flickered, pulsing faster. Hale could see shapes moving inside it, fragments of machinery, or perhaps memories. Then the hovering structure cracked with a thunderclap that shattered the stillness. The storm above the sea reignited. Not rain, not lightning, but long, reaching tendrils of light sweeping toward the coast. And within them, a faint mechanical drone, as if something enormous were calling out across the sky. Hale stumbled to his feet. The ghost signal wasn't just a transmission anymore. It was coming for him. Hale stumbled through the burned field, his boots crunching over shards of fused glass where grass once grew. The air smelled metallic, thick with a charge that made every hair on his body stand up. Behind him, the ruined tower still pulsed faintly, a dying heart in the fog. His receiver crackled with broken tones. Beep, 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 beep. Then a voice, warped, layered, as though 2 people were speaking through the same mouth. "Thomas Hale, OSS. You were not meant to hear us." He froze. It wasn't Elfriede. The voice was colder, mechanical, almost curious. "Who are you?" he rasped. "We are what remains of Sturmlicht. The network lives. The signal lives. You cannot silence the storm." He backed away, clutching the receiver, as images flickered across its cracked glass. Flashes of rocket silos, laboratories, blueprints overlaid with human faces. The final image lingered, a map of Britain lit by concentric circles of light, a target grid. The voice continued. "One more test. The final calibration. Piemont will rise again. The sky will open." Hale dropped the device, smashing it under his boot. The echo didn't stop. The words were now vibrating in the air itself, woven through every gust of wind. Far out at sea, a red glow blossomed beneath the storm front, distant yet impossibly bright, like sunrise in the wrong direction. The clouds churned in a spiral, streaked with lightning that didn't fade but lingered, twisting and pulsing like veins. Hale turned toward the cliffs. If this was the final test, if the Nazis had truly found a way to weaponize the heavens themselves, he had to reach someone, anyone, before that light reached them first. And somewhere in the static that followed, Elfriede's voice whispered one last time. Thomas, if you can still hear me, Piemont isn't in Germany anymore. Hale's mind reeled. Piemont isn't in Germany anymore. The words spun like gears in his skull, grinding against logic. He crouched beside the shattered receiver, watching its faint glow fade to black. The sea roared beneath the cliffs, restless and heavy, and somewhere out beyond the horizon that strange red light still burned, pulsing like a heartbeat beneath the clouds. He needed answers. Fast. By dawn, he reached the abandoned rail station down the coast. Just a few crumbling buildings and a rusted telegraph line. The power was dead, but one of the signal booths still had a battery generator. He wired the headset to a secondary transmitter and began sending Morse. Urgent OSS priority. Project Sturmlicht. Mobile site moving under SEA. Possible test imminent. No response. Only the endless crackle of static. Then, faintly, a reply. Hale, identify source. Relief washed through him. This is Sergeant Hale, Station K, 47. I need to report. But the voice that answered wasn't from London. It was soft. Familiar. Thomas, you're speaking through my relay. Elfriede, he whispered. Yes, Piemont was never fixed to a place. It's a platform, mobile, submerged, powered by the stormlight itself. They built it beneath the North Sea. Hale gripped the mic. Then the signal I've been hearing. Is the machine searching for more power? She finished. Every broadcast draws energy. Every listener feeds it. He went cold. Every listener. That meant even he had been helping it grow. The telegraph clicked again, not her this time, but a new voice, harsh and clipped. OSS command to all stations. Unidentified transmissions approaching. Signal interference detected. Possible hostile technology in northern sector. Maintain radio silence. But the static didn't fade. Instead, it began to pulse. 3 tones, slow and deliberate. The ghost signal was moving closer. By evening, the North Sea had turned black as oil. The horizon glowed faintly red where the storm churned, its clouds shaped like coiling smoke. Hale followed the coastline north, clutching the receiver like a talisman. Every few minutes it flickered alive, 3 tones, always the same, echoing like a heartbeat from beneath the waves. He reached a stretch of cliffs overlooking a deep bay. There, far below, something impossible shimmered beneath the surface, a vast circular structure of faint blue light, rotating slowly, visible only when lightning flashed. It looked like a city drowned and still breathing. Towers rose from its center, breaking the surface for mere seconds before sinking again. He crouched, breath fogging, as Elfriede's voice returned, clearer than ever. You found it, Thomas. The real Piemont. The laboratory that escaped the war. My God, it's alive. It was never meant to be. The water began to boil, white steam rising as the structure's glow intensified. He could hear the hum now, low and resonant, vibrating through the stone beneath his boots. They're charging the core, she said. Every test releases more energy than the last. They'll use the stormlight to reach the ionosphere, to ignite it. He swallowed hard. That would destroy everything. That's why I called you. You're the only one who can reach the central relay from the surface. It's anchored to the cliffs beneath you. Hale scanned the rocks, and there it was, a metal hatch half buried in the earth, cables running down toward the sea. His heart pounded. If I overload it, you can sever the connection, she finished. But you'll only get one chance. Lightning cracked overhead. The hatch vibrated beneath his boots. Far below, the submerged city began to rise, its glowing towers breaking through the waves like the ribs of some ancient creature waking from sleep. The hatch was bolted shut, welded with age and salt. Hale yanked at the handle until his palms bled, then smashed it with a loose iron rod until the lock gave way. The metal door swung open with a scream, releasing a gust of hot, electric air that smelled of ozone and rust. A ladder descended into darkness. Far below, faint blue light pulsed in time with the rhythm of the storm outside. Beep, 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 beep. The ghost signal had found its home. He took a breath and climbed down. The walls were slick with condensation, vibrating faintly under his hands. The deeper he went, the louder the hum became. until it was no longer sound but sensation, a tremor in his bones, a pressure behind his eyes. At the bottom, he stepped into a tunnel carved from solid rock and lined with cables thicker than his arm. The floor was metal, humming with power. Ahead, an open chamber glowed with shifting light, a cathedral of machinery. Massive turbines spun slowly around a central column that reached up into darkness. Symbols in German were etched along the rim. Sturmlichtzentrale, kein Zutritt. Stormlight Core, no entry. Elfriede, he whispered into the receiver. I'm inside. Her voice came softly, trembling. Good. There's a control panel near the base. You'll need to reverse the current flow. That will destabilize the conduit. And if I do, it will collapse the network and everything attached to it. The meaning struck him like a blow. You mean you'll? Yes. The part of me still inside the machine will end. He stared at the glowing core, the light pulsing like a heartbeat. For a moment, he imagined her there, trapped between signal and storm. Then a new sound echoed through the tunnel, boots on metal. German voices, closing in fast. He only had minutes left. The chamber filled with sound, not mechanical, not natural, but something that existed between both. The turbines screamed, the metal walls warped, and the air thickened as the voice poured through every surface. You are not authorized to terminate the network. It wasn't a single voice now. It was thousands, male, female, German, English, overlapping like a chorus of ghosts. Hale dropped to his knees, clutching his head as the words drilled into his skull. Elfriede, he shouted. What is this thing? The machine learned to speak, she whispered. Her voice was breaking up, fading in and out. It used our voices, mine, the engineers, the test subjects. It absorbed us. It remembers everyone we lost. The light from the core brightened until it became unbearable. Hale shielded his eyes, but through his fingers he saw shapes forming within the glow. Human silhouettes, transparent and trembling. Dozens of them, faces half-formed, mouths moving in silent screams. We are the signal, the machine said. We are the memory of the storm. You cannot destroy us. You are part of us now. A surge of static burst from the receiver on Hale's belt. Elfriede's voice returned, urgent, breaking apart with each word. Thomas, listen. If it connects again, it will spread through the entire OSS network, every radio, every frequency. He understood instantly. The ghost signal wasn't just a message. It was an infection. The metal under his feet began to split, glowing white-hot. He staggered toward the control column, but the machine spoke again, its tone shifting into something disturbingly human. Thomas Hale, you have been heard. Your coordinates are known. Reintegration imminent. From the core, cables shot outward like tendrils, wrapping around the platform, slithering toward him. He grabbed the fallen soldier's pistol and fired wildly, each shot echoing like thunder inside the chamber. Elfriede, he yelled. Tell me what to do. Her answer was faint but clear. Take the core offline manually. Pull the main conduit. Do it now, or it spreads. He looked up. The conduit ran directly into the storm above, pulsing like a vein. He didn't think. He ran. Hale sprinted along the catwalk, the metal trembling beneath his boots. Below, the turbines howled like beasts in pain, vomiting light that flickered in waves. The cables pursuing him lashed the air, sparking with electricity, slamming into railings and molten steel. Every strike shook the chamber, sending shards of hot debris raining from above. The conduit loomed ahead, a thick, pulsating column of metal and glass stretching straight into the roof of the cavern, vanishing into the storm. Through the transparent casing, energy surged upward in blinding rivers of white fire. The vein of the machine. Elfriede, he gasped, pressing the receiver to his ear. How do I shut it down? You can't shut it down, she said. Her voice trembled with interference. You have to sever it. Physically, there's a release valve halfway up the support frame. It's the only weak point. He scanned the column. There it was, a small red lever, glowing faintly amid the chaos. But it was meters above him, reachable only by a narrow maintenance ladder winding up the side of the conduit. Once you pull it, she continued, you'll have seconds before the overload. You need to run. He swallowed hard. And what about you? A pause. Then, quietly, I'll be free. He didn't hesitate. He holstered the pistol, grabbed the ladder, and began to climb. The heat scorched his hands. The air sizzled with static. Voices whispered through the metal, fragments of lives the machine had devoured. At the halfway mark, a cable shot from below, striking the ladder, wrapping around his leg. He kicked, firing his pistol downward, severing the coil. Sparks erupted. He reached the lever. The metal vibrated under his grip. For one breath, he looked up. Through the skylight of the chamber, he could see the storm swirling directly above, a spinning vortex of blue fire. "Thomas," Elfriede whispered, her voice barely human now. "Pull it before it pulls you." He clenched his jaw, shouted once into the roaring wind, and yanked the lever down. The conduit screamed. Then the world went white. There was no explosion, only light. It swallowed everything. The tunnel, the turbines, the storm itself. Hale felt himself lifted, weightless, floating through a sound that was more feeling than noise. Every memory, his training, his childhood, the first time he'd touched a radio, flashed past in bursts of white. Then came the silence. When his eyes opened, he was lying on wet stone. The chamber was gone. No machines, no walls. Only a vast, dim cavern opening to the sea. The air smelled of salt and ashes. He staggered to his feet, swaying. The ladder, the core, the cables, all had been reduced to blackened fragments scattered across the ground like bones. Above, the storm was gone. The sky glowed a pale, unnatural gray, flickering faintly as if the clouds still remembered the light. He stumbled toward the mouth of the cave, boots crunching over glassy rock, and stared in disbelief. The sea was calm, dead calm. No wind, no waves, just an endless mirror stretching to the horizon. And far out across that mirror, faint as a ghost, hovered the ruins of the submerged city, drifting, slowly sinking, its towers folding in on themselves like dying stars. "Elfriede," he whispered into the receiver. Static. Then, softly, like a sigh, her voice. "You did it, Thomas. It's over." He swallowed hard, eyes burning. "Where are you?" "I'm nowhere now. That's how it should be." He closed his eyes, listening to the faint hum that lingered in the air. Did I destroy it? A pause. You stopped most of it. But the signal never dies completely. It waits. The receiver crackled once more, then went silent forever. Hale stood alone on the cliffs until the light faded from the horizon. For the first time in months, there was no sound, no static, no voices, no hum. Just the slow breath of the sea. But deep below, beneath the calm surface, something shimmered once. 3 tones, faint and distant. Beep, beep, beep. The ghost signal had gone quiet, but it was still listening. 3 days later, the silence was broken by the drone of engines. A Royal Navy vessel appeared on the horizon, cutting through the flat gray water toward the Scottish cliffs. Hale stood waiting on the rocks when they found him. Pale, unshaven, his uniform scorched and torn, eyes hollow from sleeplessness. 2 officers escorted him aboard without a word. He didn't resist. As the ship pulled away from shore, Hale turned back and saw nothing but the waves. No wreckage, no tower, no trace that anything extraordinary had ever existed. In Inverness, the OSS interrogation room was warm, too bright. The man across the table introduced himself as Commander Felix Ward, intelligence liaison. A younger officer, Lieutenant Davis, stood in the corner, taking notes. Ward smiled politely. "Sergeant Hale, you've had quite an ordeal." "You could say that, sir. According to Captain Wexler's report, your station suffered an electrical fire during a storm. You were the only survivor." Hale blinked. "That's not what happened." Ward's smile didn't falter. "And yet, no evidence remains of any enemy contact. No wreckage, no transmissions, no bodies. Would you like to amend your report?" Hale leaned forward. "You don't understand. The tower, the machine, it was real. They were using atmospheric energy. Project Sturmlicht." Ward's expression cooled. "That project was terminated in 1944. Whatever you think you saw was an illusion brought on by exhaustion and isolation. I have notes, recordings." "Destroyed in the fire," Ward interrupted. "You've done your duty. You'll be sent home for recovery." As the officers stood to leave, Hale noticed something strange. The small field radio on Ward's desk flickered to life. 3 soft tones, almost imperceptible. Beep, beep, beep. The commander paused, frowning. "Interference," he muttered, switching it off. But Hale just stared at the set, heart pounding, a single thought clawing at the back of his mind. It found them too. Hale sat alone in the debriefing room for what felt like hours. The clock on the wall ticked too loud, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead, and the smell of disinfectant made him nauseous. His reflection in the window looked like that of another man, hollow-eyed, pale, a ghost in uniform. Finally, the door opened. A woman in a dark civilian suit stepped in, carrying a slim folder. She closed the door quietly behind her and smiled. Calm, practiced, unreadable. "Sergeant Hale," she said, her accent soft and crisp. "I'm Dr. Margaret Avery, Section B Psychological Evaluation. May I sit?" He nodded. She opened the folder. Inside, his entire life. Personnel files, transcripts, the radio logs he thought had burned. "We found these among the wreckage," she said. "Quite a detailed account of your experiences." "You mean the ghost signal?" he muttered. Avery studied him. "That's what you call it, yes. Tell me, Sergeant, do you believe you destroyed it?" He hesitated. "I stopped something, but it's not gone. Because you still hear it?" He looked up sharply. "Sometimes." She didn't flinch. "That's interesting. Because others have reported similar auditory phenomena after long-term exposure to shortwave frequencies. Patterns, tones, phantom voices. It's not uncommon. It's not a hallucination," he said flatly. "You've heard it too, haven't you?" Avery closed the folder, eyes narrowing slightly. "What makes you say that?" "Because you came in here without a recording device. You already know what I'm going to say." The lights flickered once. A soft hum rose from the corner of the room. Avery glanced toward the wall-mounted radio. It had switched on by itself. 3 tones. Beep, beep, beep. Her smile didn't fade. "Sergeant Hale," she said softly, "this interview is over." She stood, left the folder on the table, and walked out without looking back. The door locked behind her. Hale stared at the folder. On its tab was a new title, typed in bold. Project Sturmlicht, Phase 2. The next morning, 2 military police officers arrived without explanation. Hale barely had time to gather his few belongings. The burnt radio, a torn photograph, a matchbook from the listening post, before he was handcuffed and escorted through a maze of corridors beneath the OSS compound. No one spoke. They led him to an underground hangar where a black transport truck idled beside a waiting aircraft. The insignia on its fuselage wasn't military. A simple silver circle with a single vertical line through it. Unfamiliar. Unsettling. "Where are you taking me?" Hale asked. "Orders from London," one of the guards replied. "Special Division. You'll be debriefed there." But something in his tone made it clear. This wasn't a request. The flight was long, silent. The engines hummed low, almost soothing, until Hale realized the rhythm matched the same pulse as the ghost signal. 3 beats. A pause. Then 3 more. He pressed his ear to the cabin wall. The faintest whisper slid through the vibration. "Thomas." He jerked back, heart racing. The guard across from him didn't react. Either he hadn't heard it, or he'd learned to ignore it. They landed at night. The fog was thick, swallowing the runway lights until they looked like drifting stars. Beyond the tarmac rose a structure unlike any military base he'd seen. Circular, cold concrete domes linked by glass tunnels that glowed from within. A tall officer in a white coat met him at the ramp. "Sergeant Hale," he said curtly. "Welcome to Facility 7. You're in the right place." Hale frowned. "For what?" The officer smiled faintly. "For answers." He led Hale inside. The corridors hummed faintly, lined with unfamiliar machines, coils, oscillators, humming panels marked with the same symbol from the aircraft. At the end of the hall stood a reinforced door with a warning stenciled in German. "Sturmlicht, neue Phase begonnen." "Stormlight, new phase commenced." The officer placed his hand on the scanner. "You thought you ended it," he said quietly. "But you didn't. You just moved it." The door opened. Light spilled out, blue, pulsing, alive. The room beyond the reinforced door was immense, round, cathedral-like, its ceiling lost in shadows. Dozens of glass tubes lined the walls, each filled with a faintly glowing blue mist. The air hummed softly, a vibration so low it made Hale's bones ache. He stepped forward, drawn to the slow pulse of the light. Inside one of the tubes floated what looked like a human silhouette, vague, blurred, its features dissolving and reforming like smoke. For a moment, he thought it moved. Don't get too close, the white-coated officer warned. They're volatile. Hale turned. They? What are they? Residual consciousness. Energy impressions left over from the original Piedmont experiments. When the core imploded, fragments of the signal migrated, encoded themselves in the electromagnetic field. What you're seeing are echoes. Hale stared, chilled. You're saying they're people? The officer's expression didn't change. They were. Now they're data. Memory bound to light. He pointed toward the center of the room. A massive column of transparent glass rose from the floor, liquid light swirling inside like a living storm. The rhythm of its pulse was unmistakable. Beep, beep, beep. This is what remains of the ghost's signal, the man continued. A stabilized fragment. The scientists call it the lumen entity. We call it Phase 2. Hale felt his skin crawl. You're experimenting on it? We're communicating with it, the officer said calmly. Unlike the Germans, we don't seek destruction. We seek understanding. Power. Hale took a step back. The pulse grew faster, brighter. Somewhere deep within the column, a faint whisper rippled through the air. Thomas. His breath caught. Elfriede. The officer froze. What did you say? He didn't answer. The voice came again, clearer, urgent. Thomas, it's spreading again. You must. The lights flickered violently. The tubes along the wall trembled, their blue contents roiling like boiling water. Alarms began to wail. The officer grabbed Hale's arm. Get back. But it was too late. The main column flared white, and for one horrifying instant Hale saw faces, dozens of them, pressing against the glass from inside, mouths open in silent screams. Then the glass cracked. The first crack sounded like thunder. Then another. A hairline fracture snaked down the length of the main column, glowing with white fire. The humming in the air turned into a deep, vibrating roar. Hale stumbled backward as sparks rained from the ceiling and alarms howled through the facility. Seal it. Seal it now, the officer shouted, slamming his hand on a control panel. Steel shutters began to slide over the observation windows, but the glass kept splintering faster than the mechanisms could move. Inside the column, the light boiled. Faces swam through it like drowning souls, indistinct, terrified, pressing against the walls as if trying to escape. Their mouths opened in perfect unison. Sturm looked active. The words echoed through the chamber in dozens of overlapping voices, human, mechanical, and something else entirely. Hale covered his ears, but the sound was inside him now, vibrating through every nerve. The officer staggered backward, eyes wide, shouting orders into a dead radio. One of the glass tubes exploded behind them, showering the floor with shards. A figure of pure light rose from the debris, writhing, human-shaped, flickering in and out of visibility. Elfriede, Hale cried. Is that you? The figure turned its head toward him. For a heartbeat, her face appeared, serene, impossibly sad. It's not me anymore, she said. It's all of us. The main column burst open. A torrent of light engulfed the room, tearing through consoles, melting steel, devouring the very air. Hale was thrown to the ground as heat and energy surged around him in a cyclone of color. The officer tried to crawl toward the exit, but a tendril of light lashed out, wrapping around his body. He screamed as his outline blurred, skin, uniform, bones, until he was nothing but brightness drawn back into the storm. Hale clawed his way toward the doorway, the floor burning under his hands. Behind him, the lumen entity rose higher, expanding, taking shape, a single, radiant form towering over the wreckage. Its voice rolled through the collapsing facility like thunder. We are not ghosts. We are the signal reborn. The lights in the corridor ahead turned red. A single mechanical warning repeated again and again. Containment breach. Phase transition in progress. Hale ran. The corridor shook with every pulse of the thing behind him. The floor lights flickered red and white, sirens blaring in dissonant rhythm. The walls, once sterile concrete, now shimmered faintly, alive with crawling lines of blue light, like veins forming in metal. Hale sprinted through the smoke and steam, boots slipping on shattered glass. Behind him came the low, rising hum of the lumen entity moving through the halls, not walking, but flowing, its light spilling through cracks and vents like liquid thought. A voice boomed over the facility's intercom. All personnel evacuate immediately. Containment breach in Silo 1. Evacuation corridors will seal in 90 seconds. He rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of technicians in white coats, their faces streaked with soot. One grabbed him by the arm. "You Hale, right? You started this." "No," Hale panted. It was already alive. The man's eyes darted to the glowing corridor behind them. "Then God help us all." They ran together toward the hangar bay. Overhead, lights burst one after another, plunging the tunnels into strobing chaos. The air vibrated so violently that Hale's teeth ached. Somewhere far behind, something massive was tearing itself free, metal groaning like a dying ship. As they reached the final blast door, one of the technicians swiped his keycard, screaming at the console to respond. Come on, come on." The door finally hissed open. Beyond it lay the night, a sky bruised purple and blue, the sea in the distance glowing faintly with reflected lightning. But before they could step through, the intercom crackled again, not with human speech, but with that tone. Beep, beep, beep. Every light in the corridor went out. Silence. Then a soft whisper, impossibly close. "Thomas." The glow surged through the steel walls, spilling into the hangar like sunrise. The technicians screamed as the light reached them, freezing mid-motion, their bodies flickering into outlines, dissolving into static. Hale dove through the door and slammed the emergency seal. The metal glowed hot beneath his palms as the light pounded from the other side, furious, relentless. Then, sudden quiet. The only sound left was the faint hiss of the sea wind outside. He stumbled away from the door, toward the open air, gasping. The night sky was alive with auroras, blue and gold ribbons rippling across the stars, pulsing in a familiar rhythm. The signal wasn't contained anymore. It had gone global. The auroras danced like fire across the heavens, hypnotic, alive. Waves of light rolled over the clouds, flickering in perfect, deliberate rhythm. Hale stood at the edge of the ruined airfield, wind tearing through his coat, watching the sky breathe. The world had gone silent. No engines, no shouts, not even the wail of alarms from the dying facility behind him. Only that steady, impossible hum, a low, resonant chord vibrating through the ground, through his chest, through the air itself. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the battered receiver he'd carried since Piedmont. It was cracked and scorched, yet still faintly glowing. He hesitated, then turned the dial. Static, then 3 tones. Beep, beep, beep. "Elfriede," he whispered. "Are you still there?" For a moment, nothing. Then a woman's voice emerged, gentle and fractured, like an echo through time. "I am what remains of her. What remains of us. You shouldn't have come here, Thomas. You told me to destroy it." "I did, but the storm learned." He looked up. The auroras began to twist together, forming spirals, a shape he'd seen before in the diagrams. In his nightmares, the Sturmlicht core. "Elfriede, what's it doing?" "It's rewriting the sky, turning the ionosphere into a transmitter. Every radio, every signal, every pulse of electricity will soon carry it." He clenched the receiver. "Then we shut it down again." She sounded almost like she was smiling. "And how do you destroy the sky, Thomas?" He had no answer. From the cliffs below came a deep, rising rumble. The ground cracked open, revealing shafts of blue light erupting upward. Conduits, dozens of them, piercing the night like lightning frozen in place. They reached toward the aurora, feeding it, binding earth and atmosphere into one colossal circuit. The air grew thin. His breath came in short, ragged gasps. The receiver buzzed, hot in his hand. "Elfriede," he gasped. "There has to be a way to stop it." "There is," she said softly, "but it will cost you everything." Above them, the auroras began to pulse faster, like a heartbeat that belonged to the world itself. The light was everywhere now. It rippled across the ocean, shimmered in the clouds, and burned in the veins of the earth. Hale stood in the eye of it, every hair on his body alive with static. The receiver buzzed hotter and hotter until it seared his palm, but he couldn't let go. "Elfriede, what do I have to do?" he shouted over the wind. Her voice was calm, almost tender. "The core you severed still exists inside the signal. It needs an anchor to manifest, a human mind to translate its pattern into form. That's how it survived Piedmont. That's how it's here." Hale felt his stomach twist. "You mean me? You've been its mirror since you first heard it. The only way to stop it is to give it what it wants, then turn it against itself." The auroras above twisted tighter, the heartbeat of the storm now deafening. Lightning arced between the conduits below and the sky, forming a massive, humming circle around him. "Elfriede," he whispered, "if I let it in, I won't come back, will I?" A pause. Then, softly, "No, but neither will it." He closed his eyes. "All right." The receiver's tone rose to a scream. The world dissolved into light. He felt the pulse flood his veins, voices, memories, the hum of the ghost's signal pouring into him like a tidal wave of thought. He saw flashes. Piemont at night, scientists praying before machines, Elfriede's face, illuminated by a console's glow, the first rocket clawing toward the stars. The signal spoke through him now, a chorus of thousands. "We remember. We endure. We are the light that breathes." Hale forced the words out through gritted teeth. "And I am the silence that ends you." He twisted the receiver's frequency dial to its lowest range, 0 hertz, the death frequency. The hum faltered. The light shuddered. The auroras froze mid-motion, their colors draining to white. A shockwave of pure silence rolled outward, swallowing the sound, the wind, even the heartbeat of the world. The conduits cracked and imploded, collapsing into the sea in pillars of steam. Elfriede's voice came one last time, soft and fading. "You did it, Thomas. Rest now." He smiled through the blinding light. "See you on the other side." Then everything went still. Dawn broke over Scotland like the slow exhale of a world reborn. The storm was gone. The sea stretched out calm and silver beneath the pale sun, and the cliffs stood silent. No towers, no glow, no trace of the stormlight's touch. Hours later, a recovery team from the Royal Navy reached the site. They found the ruins of Facility 7 half buried in ash and salt. No survivors, no bodies, only fragments of glass fused into strange, smooth shapes that hummed faintly when touched. Among the wreckage lay a single object, a scorched field receiver, its casing cracked, its antenna twisted. When one of the sailors picked it up, it gave a faint pulse, 3 tones, barely audible beneath the wind. Beep, beep, beep. The sailor frowned and handed it to his commanding officer. "Old comms unit, sir. Still alive somehow." The officer turned it over in his hands. The metal was warm. "Strange. This frequency's not even on our charts." He set it down, unaware that somewhere deep inside its circuitry, a faint pattern flickered, the outline of a man's voice caught in the static. "This is Sergeant Thomas Hale, OSS Listening Post 47. Signal received." The message looped once, then faded to silence. Months later, London declassified the incident as a research facility accident caused by unstable power conversion. The official files on Project Sturmlicht were sealed, buried under layers of bureaucracy and silence. But the auroras never stopped. Every few months, reports came from sailors and radio operators across the North Sea. 3 faint tones heard at midnight, followed by a whisper. Sometimes German, sometimes English. Always the same words. "We are the light that remembers." And if you listen carefully, on certain stormy nights, when the wind hums through the cliffs of Scotland, you can still catch the echo of another voice. Steady, human, defiant. This is Hale, still listening. The signal never died. It just learned to dream. End.